Welcome back to Lost Lore. This is the second installment in our series of horror stories from around the world. Do you think you're ready? Flight 2501 and the Lake Michigan Triangle. Our journey begins in the cold, unforgiving waters of an iconic Midwestern landmark where the legend of the Lake Michigan Triangle unfolds. Similar to the infamous Bermuda Triangle, Lake Michigan is said to be a hotbed of mysterious disappearances and strange occurrences. The triangle stretches from Manitowoc to the west, to Ludington on the east bank, all the way down to Benton Harbor, which sits almost parallel with the city of Chicago in neighboring Illinois. An estimated 1,500 ships have been lost in Lake Michigan, dating back to Le Griffon in the 17th century. For hundreds of years since, shipwrecks, disappearances, plane crashes, and even UFO sightings were commonly reported. Which brings us to the grisly tale of Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 2501. It's a haunting and tragic chapter in aviation history associated with the enigmatic Lake Michigan Triangle. On the night of June 23, 1950, Flight 2501, carrying 55 passengers en route from New York City to Seattle, disappeared over Lake Michigan. Captain Robert Lind, a seasoned pilot with over 16,000 hours of flight time, was at the helm. As the flight approached Michigan, it encountered thunderstorms, prompting Captain Lind to request a descent to 2,500 feet. The last communique from Flight 2501 came at around 11:51 p.m. when Lind requested further descent to 2,000 feet. After that, all contact was lost. Search and rescue operations were launched immediately, but no wreckage or survivors were found. It is believed that Flight 2501 crashed into Lake Michigan due to an oil slick discovered approximately 18 miles north-northwest of Benton Harbor. In the days that followed, searchers encountered small parts of human remains, ears, fingers, and bones, a seat armrest, and pieces of upholstery. A pair of child's pants, later identified as those of 8-year-old passenger Chester Schaefer, were also found. Shockingly, officials needed to temporarily close certain beaches due to the amount of shredded debris washing ashore, most pieces no larger than a person's hand. But no sizable pieces of the plane, its engine, or the passengers were ever recovered. The absence of wreckage and bodies fueled speculation and conspiracy theories. Some suggested that the aircraft may have been struck by lightning, while others entertained the idea of alien involvement within the Lake Michigan Triangle. The Devil's Footprints, 1855. For our next tale, we'll go back 100 years earlier to February of 1855 in a small village called Devon, England. One morning, they woke up to a phenomenon that would grip the community with fear and perplexity. Overnight, a series of unexplained footprints appeared across the snow-covered landscape. What made these footprints peculiar was their bizarre pattern and the fact that they traversed impossible obstacles. The tracks were cloven-hoofed, resembling those of a hoofed animal, but they were far too small and irregular. Strangely, they moved in a straight line, traversing rooftops, haystacks, and even crossing bodies of water without interruption. Villagers were both mystified and terrified, fearing that some supernatural force was at play. The footprints spanned over 100 miles through multiple villages as far as the city of Exeter. Nothing seemed to obstruct the entity responsible for these tracks. Local clergymen and authorities were baffled. Unable to provide a logical explanation, rumors and theories flourished, with some attributing the prints to the devil himself. Panic ensued, as the townsfolk believed that an otherworldly entity had passed through their midst. To this day, the mystery of the devil's footprints remains unsolved. While some suggested it was an elaborate prank or an unusual natural anomaly, the peculiar pattern and the sheer distance covered in one night are confounding. The event has left an indelible mark on local folklore, becoming a haunting tale passed down through generations in Devon. The devil's footprints serve as a reminder that even in the modern world, unexplained mysteries can arise, leaving communities in awe and trepidation. The Screaming Woods. Now, we'll head across the Isle to the village of Pluckley, nestled in the English countryside outside London in Kent. There lies an eerie and forgotten graveyard known as the Screaming Woods. This dense forest, officially named Daring Woods, has gained its ominous reputation due to the numerous unexplained and chilling events reported by those who dared to enter. The legend of the Screaming Woods dates back centuries. Villagers tell of a highwayman who was impaled on a hollow oak tree, and it is said that his screams echo through the forest to this day. Locals also claim that the woods were a common place for suicides, and that the tormented souls of the departed linger among the ancient oaks. One chilling tale involves a group of friends who decided to camp within the woods, brushing off the warnings of the locals. As the night deepened, they heard disembodied cries and wails surrounding their campsite. Terrified, they tried to escape, but the woods seemed to twist and turn, disorienting them. The cries grew louder, as if the very trees were mourning the tragedies that had unfolded within their shadows. In another account, a lone hiker reported encountering a spectral figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing. The figure, bathed in an otherworldly light, beckoned the hiker to follow. Despite the hiker's attempts to flee, the figure appeared again and again in the mist, seemingly at every turn. Even paranormal investigators who ventured into the Screaming Woods reported mysterious malfunctions in their equipment, inexplicable shadows, and an overwhelming feeling of dread. Some claim to have captured ghostly apparitions in their photographs, adding to the mystique of the haunted forest. From a lady in red that guards the Church of St. Nicholas to a swinging schoolmaster who hung himself from a laurel tree, Pluckley is home to no less than 12 ghosts reliving their pain in endless loops. While the Screaming Woods may not be as famous as other haunted locations, its obscurity only adds to the unsettling allure of this ancient place. To this day, the eerie legends persist, and those who venture into the heart of the Screaming Woods are warned to listen closely, for they might hear the anguished cries of the long-dead souls that still wander among the gnarled branches. The Min Lights. Now we'll venture into the heart of the Australian outback, where the enigmatic Min Lights have mystified travelers for decades. In the remote regions of the Queensland outback, there exists a phenomenon known as the Min Lights, described as eerie floating spheres of light that dance on the horizon. These mysterious lights have become a source of fascination and folklore. The legend has its roots in the early 20th century, when travelers reported encountering these elusive lights while traversing the vast, desolate landscapes. The lights are said to hover just above the ground or on the horizon, appearing and disappearing without warning. Attempts to approach them often result in the lights receding, maintaining a distance that makes them impossible to catch. Adding to the mystery is how the lights seemingly follow or pace vehicles traveling through the outback. Witnesses have reported feeling an uncanny sense of being watched as the lights keep pace with them, only to vanish when they reach their destination. Aboriginal lore attributes the Min Lights to the spirits of ancestral travelers or lost souls. The lights are considered both mystical and potentially ominous, giving rise to the legend that those who chase and catch the lights never return. Scientific explanations range from atmospheric conditions creating optical illusions to reflections of vehicle headlights. However, the Min Lights remain an unsolved mystery, an integral part of the cultural fabric of the Australian outback, and a captivating phenomenon that continues to bewilder those who brave the remote landscapes of Queensland. The 7 Gates of Hell. The installment's final story takes us back to the United States and deep into the rural expanses of Pennsylvania, where the legend of the 7 Gates of Hell whispers from the dark, twisted woods that once housed an unmistakable horror marker, the insane asylum. Near the town of Hellam, just outside York, locals tell a tale that has captivated audiences for generations. The story centers around an allegedly haunted asylum that once stood in the town's woods. According to the legend, the asylum caught fire, leading to a chaotic and deadly scene. As the flames raged, the staff struggled to contain the inmates, locking them inside to prevent their escape. However, all perished in the inferno, creating a tragic tale of suffering and horror. The legend claims this pain opened an entrance to hell itself at the site of the former asylum. It's said that if you pass through all 7 gates in the woods at night, you will enter the realm of the supernatural. Each gate supposedly marks a threshold, and those who dare to cross them risk encountering the tormented souls of the asylum's tragic past. The exact location of the 7 gates of hell is said to be intentionally obscured, and various versions of the tale exist. Some speak of malevolent spirits guarding the gates, while others warn of the psychological toll on those who venture too far into the woods. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend persists, and locals often share stories of strange happenings in the vicinity of Hellam. Whether a cautionary tale or a portal to the supernatural, the legend of the 7 gates of hell continues to weave its mystique through the darkened woods of Pennsylvania. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to Lost Lore for more horror stories, unexplained events, and chilling mysteries. Until next time.